I'm Shelley Hilberry. I'm an admissions counselor here at Mary Washington, but I'm also an alum. I graduated from Mary Wash in December of 2010. So it was like almost a year ago. It feels like it, but it doesn't really feel like almost a year ago. But I actually decided to stay here to pursue a master's in education. So I'm also a graduate student, in addition to working. So if y'all have any questions about psychology or education, I'm kind of biased. They're like my favorites here, so I'll be happy to answer those questions. But if you have questions about anything else, hopefully I'll know the answer. And if I don't, I'll find it for you. I'm sure most of you know where you're at, the University of Mary Washington in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Has anyone ever been here before? Where are you coming from? Oh, from Seaville? I was just in Luray yesterday. I did the Stony Man Point look. I saw the sunset and all that good stuff, so I love it down there. But welcome to Fredericksburg. Charlottesville's kind of similar to the Fredericksburg area, historic downtown kind of feel, so I hope that you get that similar vibe. Maybe you'll feel like leaving the Shenandoah a little bit and coming towards more of like the urban corridor. We're in between Richmond and DC, so it's kind of not like Charlottesville in a sense, but you get a little bit of Seaville while you're here. Mary Washington is comprised of about 4,574 freshmen right now. We're a mid-sized school, so that kind of means you'll be getting a very interactive personal education. A lot of bigger schools, you'll see about, 10,000 students, but here we have about 4,000 undergrads and about 1,000 graduate students. Most of our students come from Virginia. Some of them don't come from Virginia. They're international students, or they're exotic Virginians. Their residence is Virginia, but they live in a foreign country, but they decide to come back to school in Virginia. So you can see about 25% are non-Virginians. And we represent a pretty good number of states. Personally, I represent the New Jersey territory, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. So I recruit a lot of students from the northeastern states, but we also get some states from Mid-Atlantic. We also get students from Texas, Colorado, from like Massachusetts, things like that. So we have a pretty broad range of students coming here. But for me, Mary Washington was the ideal college town. When I came to Mary Wash, I really realized that the town fit me. I liked walking to places. I liked being able to go to a coffee shop. I liked being able to go to the bookstore down the road. So for me, this really was an ideal college town. And you'll see when you go on your tour that this is a contained campus, so it's safe. Everything's within walking distance. A lot of students ride their bikes or longboards, so you'll notice those kinds of things when you go on a tour after an information session. I think for most students, the most important aspect of going to college is really finding that really engaging classroom experience, right? Is that what you guys are going to college for? Well, you're going to find it here at Mary Washington. It's going to be a small interactive experience, so if you really like to know your teacher's name and you like that your teacher knows your name, that's the kind of school that you're going to go to. They're going to know your first and last name, they're going to know you by face, and they're going to ask you questions, and they're going to expect you to engage in discussions. And if you have a voice, those are the kind of students that come to Mary Washington that want to be heard and that have something to say. And we have full-time faculty that are really going to listen to you. 90% of our faculty have PhDs, they're Fulbright scholars, they're accessible to you. If you have a question, sometimes they give out their cell phone. A lot of times they give out their cell phone. They're available more than just outside of, or more than just in their office hours. So that's something else that you're interested in. That's definitely available. If you're interested in researching with professors, that's also something that you're going to be doing or engaging in at Mary Washington as well. Just as I said before, discussion-based seminars, huge here at Mary Washington. You're going to be engaging in discussion-based seminars your first year here. We call them your first year, or the first year seminar. So the first year seminar is the class that you're going to be taking as a freshman during your first semester here. It's a discussion-based class because there's only about 15 students. But it's also discussion-based because it's a very interesting topic. They're usually the latest topics that are going on, and you can just read some of the ones that are listed on there. But it's really designed as an advanced intermediate class, something that you would find as a senior here at Mary Washington. Small seminar courses, discussion-based, very interactive. We want to give you this experience your first year at Mary Washington, so you're prepared throughout the semesters here at Mary Washington. It'll be about 4 years. It'll be challenging, but you'll be ready for it because you're going to learn what's expected of you your first semester here. We're going to teach you about speaking intensive, what speaking intensive means, what writing intensive means. But we're also going to tell you how to get to the writing center, how to make an appointment at the speaking center. If you need someone to kind of help you out in those aspects, it's definitely available. But I'm sure most of you are coming here already knowing how to speak and how to write and how to give or speeches and how to write essays and things like that. But we're going to really enhance your skills here at Mary Washington because you're going to leave needing them when you're looking to get in the professional field. And this just kind of makes it fun here at Mary Washington, but you're really learning what's going on. The degree at Mary Washington, it's a liberal arts and sciences degree. Mary Washington is a liberal arts and sciences university, but we're also comprised of a College of Business and a College of Education. But your degree here at Mary Washington is going to be broken up into 3 components. Really good my chart. I think most people know what general education is. It's going to be like foreign language, history, mathematics, biological sciences, writing classes, speaking intensive. But that's only a chunk of the liberal arts and sciences degree. You're going to be dabbling in fine arts. You're not going to have to take a drama class. You don't have to know how to act. But if you want to take a music theory class, you can do that. If you want to do a painting course, you can certainly do that. You can take an American history or art history class if you want to do that. There are so many things to choose from, but it's something that you're going to have to do at Mary Washington, and it's great because it makes you a well-rounded student. In addition to the general eds, you're going to be able to pick your major. So that's something that most students end up doing about the end of their sophomore year, going into their junior year, because you actually get to pick electives to take, and that's really where a lot of students find their interest. For me, I took, maybe 6 psych courses before I declared my major, just because I read through the catalog and they sounded like interesting classes. So I ended up becoming a psychology major, and I loved it. I really did. So you'll be able to choose electives, any courses that you like, about 40 credits. You'll have to take 40 general education courses, but again, you'll be able to choose which ones you take, depending on the sequences. You can a sequence of history, a sequence of Western Civ, things like that. And then you get to pick your major. I think the greatest thing about being able to pick your major is that it's your choice, but you don't have to just pick one. If you have more than one interest, you can double major while you're here. You can just have one major, and you can have a couple minors. And that's the great thing about this degree is that you have these electives that you could do whatever you want with. And you could do 2 minors if you're interested in doing that. I happen to take a bunch of art classes, so that was kind of my minor here at Mary Washington. But they're fairly new. If you're not really sure what you're really interested in, this is the list of the majors that we have here at Mary Washington. We have about 40. I'm sure someone here saw one that they like. Does anyone like one so far? Do you know what you want to major in? Yeah?
Education.
Education.
Pre-law.
Pre-law. Okay, so that's a common misconception. Pre-law is not actually a major here at Mary Washington, but you'll notice that at a lot of schools it's actually not a major. Because it's not a major, it's a program of study. It's a pre-professional program. So everything that has an asterisk is not a major. But you'll notice pre-vet, pre-law, pre-med, pre-dentistry, pre-dental. If you're interested in a pre-profession, you'll typically be picking a major that can coincide. If you're interested in pre-med, you'll be doing you'll be majoring in chemistry or biology. If you're interested in political science, many of our students matriculate onto graduate school or to law school coming out of the poli-sci major, political science, or the history major. So it does sound a little bit confusing. I know that there's plenty of questions out there to be answered, but that's why you actually get assigned a freshman advisor here at Mary Washington to help you answer those questions. And then in addition to that, you get a major advisor once you declare your major. But then, if you want to go into the dabbling into the pre-professional program, you get a pre-professional advisor as well. So you just have to, if you want to do a pre-professional thing, just let us know, and then we'll assign you an advisor. You could do it as a freshman, you could do it as a junior. It's really up to you. But, start thinking about it now, so you can start taking those classes and fulfilling prerequisites. Excuse me. Here's a list of the minors that we have at Mary Washington. It's fairly new. We just started minors a couple years ago. This is just really a short list of them. They're still kind of up and coming, so you'll see a few more being developed. But I'm actually going to go back to the majors. One thing on here that should be on there, it's called interdisciplinary study. If there's a major on there that you don't see that you're interested in, that you don't see, you can actually create a major here at Mary Washington. It's called interdisciplinary studies because you're bringing in multiple disciplines and creating a special major here at Mary Washington. Public journalism is one of them. Criminology, archaeology. So if you're interested in one, ask me and I can pull it up and give you some information. Just because there's so many that we can't list them all on this one slide without having it point 12 far. Experiential learning is huge. If you're already getting out into the community, engaging in fields of study, aka interning, aka community service, then you're already engaging in experiential learning. But at Mary Washington, you are going to definitely be engaging in experiential learning. There's going to be plenty of internship opportunities. We have an ideal location for interning up north, Capitol Hill. Actually, you guys Seville is pretty close to DC, just coming from the other direction. But you'll be coming to Mary Washington without a car, so you can hop on the train and go up north if you're interested in doing that. You can intern at Capitol Hill. You can intern at museums. A lot of our students end up doing that. You can intern within the city of Fredericksburg if you're not interested in traveling outside of town. If there's an internship that you're interested in that's not already on the hundreds on the list that we already have as approved sites, then you can ask for one, you can propose one, and you can create a new internship. If you're not interested in doing internships, which I don't see why not, really, there's someone giggling in the background. But if you're not interested in internships, it's a really great idea because you get to get out in the field, you get to test that field of study. And if it's something that you're really interested in doing, then you'll really figure it out. Like I worked at a psychiatric hospital, and I figured out that it wasn't really for me. So I kind of transitioned out of that and went back into education. Service learning is often built into academic departments. I know that it's built into the psychology department. 40 hours of community service is often required. It is required for the psychology department. But if you're interested in just pursuing service learning outside of an academic department, you can certainly do that and gain credit for it. It's a phenomenal way to get experience in a field, in a professional field that you're interested in. Study abroad. Is anyone interested in study abroad? Just one person. Where do you want to go? France. Have you read SOAR? It's a magazine that, it may be in your bag. If not, pick it up on the way out. My friend Anne studied abroad in France this past spring, and then she wrote a nice long article, it's a page in length, that you should definitely read about her experience in France. A lot of our students end up studying abroad and working at an embassy. You can study abroad and not bring back any credits if you really don't want to, but you're still going to be doing academic work. It's really up to you, how much work you want to put into your study abroad, how much time you want to put in your study abroad. You can study abroad for a week. We have those programs here. You can study abroad for a semester. You can study abroad for a whole year, which to us is 2 semesters. It's really up to you, but you can really bring back a full load of credits if you want to, 12 credits. And at the same time, not pay too much for it. The tuition is actually pretty seamless. A lot of folks don't want to study abroad because they think it's going to be tremendously expensive and tremendous financial burden. But the tuition that you're paying at Mary Washington will practically be the same price that you're paying abroad if it's with an affiliated academic institution that we already have here. If you're going out looking for your own, it may cost a little bit more. But if that's the place that you want to study abroad at, we'll try and work with you to really make that happen and really have that site as an approved site for you at that time, and then maybe someone next semester might want to go study abroad there as well. But really the only thing that you're going to pay for is the ticket. So just be conscious of that. If you want to go to Germany, you'll probably be paying like $600 round trip or something. If you want to go to Australia, it'll probably be like $1,200 round trip. So it's really up to you. Just be conscious. Student life. Is anyone already participating in clubs at their high school? I'm sure plenty of you are. Well, if you're not participating in clubs in high school, you will definitely have a great opportunity to participate in clubs here at Mary Washington. We have this really awesome event called Club Carnival. I don't know if you noticed it coming in, but we have a a grassy knoll area called Ball Circle, where we fill it up with clubs. We have about 140 clubs and organizations here at Mary Washington. So if there isn't something that you find interesting there, then you can create a club. That happens almost every semester. A club gets created. I think the snowboard ski club got created this past semester, and our students end up taking trips to Seaville, to Wintergreen. I know that that's there, to Massanet and things like that. So they're organized clubs, and they really get out and do things. And one of the, I think, the most prominent clubs here at Mary Washington is the Ecology Club. We're big on sustainability here at Mary Washington. Recycle Mania is huge here. If it's not a fundraising club, then you can find the Salsa Club. You can play club baseball. Really, there's plenty to choose from. If you're really interested in figuring out what we have here at Mary Washington, if you want to do the pep band, we have that too. Check out the website. They're totally listed there, and there's contact information if you want to find out a little bit more about it, or if you want to find out about how you can create your own club here. My colleague created the co-ed lacrosse team, so that's something. Concerts. Has anyone been to a good concert lately? Yeah. I went to the Journey concert not too long ago, but we didn't have Journey here, but we have plenty of concerts at Mary Washington. There's literally a live show almost every day. At least 6 days a week, just right below us in the underground. If you haven't visited, it's like kind of a venue here. We have the Anderson Center. It's a huge 3,000-seat stadium. That's also a venue that we have here at Mary Wash. Dodd Auditorium. There's literally something going on every day, which is like a typical college community, but we really have engaged students that really like to be friends with each other and that like to stay at Mary Washington, so there's always something going on. And you actually just came back today's the day that classes came back from fall break. So you're lucky to be able to see students walking around campus and engaging with them. I encourage you to ask questions if you have any questions for them. Oh, Vibrant Fine Arts, we're doing Rent, November 3rd. We have lots of plays here at Mary Washington. So if anyone's interested in coming to see a show, please come see Rent. It opens, I think it's November 3rd, opening night. Residence Life at Mary Washington. There's about 17 residence halls here at Mary Wash, and only 7 of them are freshman residence halls for you to choose from. But there's co-ed educational halls, and there's all girls and all women's choice for dorms too, if you're interested in that kind of lifestyle while you're at Mary Washington. They really have a broad range, doubles, triples, quads. There's also apartment styles if you feel like you want to have an apartment on your own at Mary Washington. And they range from the freshman dorms, the freshman residence halls, all the way up to the sophomores, juniors, and senior residence halls. Did anyone drive by Eagle Village? This is a picture of it right here. The pedestrian bridge kind of connects students from Route 1 over to the campus. It's an extension of the campus essentially, but it's for our upperclassmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Immaculate. If you haven't seen it, you need to go check it out. It's amazing. We just built it in 2010. It has like a huge rotunda and flat screen TVs, which you will practically find in almost every dorm here at Mary Washington. Study halls, kitchen. I know one of our dormitories has like a skate park at the bottom of it. It's really, really weird. But it's pretty cool if you're a skater, right? But every place will have like a study lounge, a hangout lounge, TV lounge for students if you really don't want to get out of the residence hall. There's plenty of students for you to hang out while they're there. We have like orientation leaders, RAs, to help you out, to help you figure out what it's like to kind of get through that residence life part of college life. As you can see from the slide, our students are going to be living here for 2 years. So that's kind of a new thing that we have at Mary Washington. Last year it was just living here, signing a contract and living with us for your freshman year, but you'll actually be living with us your sophomore year as well. And that's a good thing. I think once you get a feel for the campus and getting around, it's not too small, but it's not overwhelmingly large. The greatest thing about it is that the academic buildings are right next to the residence halls. They're right next to the library. They're next to dining services. They're next to academic services. If you really need to get somewhere, you will get there quick. If you're kind of always late, or I call it prompt, like me, you'll be okay because you'll be able to get to class on time. You can just walk 5 minutes and you'll get there. But it's really up to you. If you want to live on one end of the campus, you can do that. You know, we have apartments on either end. They kind of like abut both ends of the campus. So if you want to, get a bike, you can get from one end to the other campus or to the other end in maybe like 25 minutes. It's really up to you. But everything's accessible. And that's the kind of community that we foster here at Mary Washington. We want you to be successful. So we want you to be able to stay in the Jefferson Science Center up all night if you need to. And then safely walk to your dorm. You don't need to have somebody, pick you up, or you don't need to have an escort to get to places here. It's not like that. It's safe, and you can walk to wherever you need to. You can go wherever you need to go at any hour of the day, and you don't need a bus or a car because you won't have one as a freshman. As freshmen, you won't have cars here. I'm so sorry, but you'll really find that across the board for most universities. But really, you won't need one. I'll be honest, you really won't. Athletics and recreation is really big here at Mary Washington too. We have about 23 varsity sports, as well as club sports and intercollegiate sports as well. So if you don't want to commit, that full-time commitment as a varsity athlete, you can do it as a club sport. It's really up to you. I really think that we have a sport for every type of athlete. I think the only downside to our division is that we are Division III. So we don't give out athletic scholarships to our athletes. It's just that you want to play and you want to compete, and that's what you're here to do. But you're also here to be a student and to be a scholar. And so that's what you're going to be first. You're going to be a student first, and then you're going to be an athlete. But I guarantee you will have support from your coaches. I've had a lot of friends that have been athletes here at Mary Washington, and they know how to make it work. Varsity baseball players, varsity volleyball players, they take class in the morning and then they do practice in the evening. Or if you're into crew, you do practice in the morning and then you take your classes in the evening. It's really up to you. But there really is a sport for everybody. And we're very competitive within the NCAA, especially track, especially baseball. If you really are interested in being looked at to play a sport at Mary Washington, I encourage you to contact the coaches. Their contact information is on the athletic page. So I know that there's a couple athletes here somewhere, so if you're interested in doing that, check it out on the athletic page and read about the sport. If you're not an athlete, like me, I'm not really an athlete. I snowboard though, I really enjoy that, and I enjoy hiking. I still think that's athletic. But if you're not into sports, you can still be an Eagle here at Mary Washington. You can still have spirit. We just encourage you to just come out to the sporting events and come to the Anderson Center. We have a 3,000-seat stadium, like I said before, exclusively for basketball and volleyball, and our students are really excited about it. We have athletic facilities on either end, indoor facilities on both ends, indoor-outdoor tennis, awesome facilities there. We have indoor-outdoor track as well, basketball, volleyball as well. But check out the soccer fields if you're interested in that. There's like the AstroTurf, really cool stuff. If you want to, be a soccer player here at Mary Washington, just go walk down there and check it out. No big deal. We also have all the baseball fields and field hockey, lacrosse, like everything you can think of. Just go down and check it out. It's kind of a walk away, but it's definitely worth it. This is actually a picture of the Anderson Center. If you don't make it out there, this is a picture of the floor. It's actually brand new. We just opened it up this past August. So it's new for our freshmen this year, and we actually had our president's inauguration fall there. So we transformed that, but this really doesn't do it justice, but we are the Eagles if you didn't realize that. We're the Eagles. So I know most of you are kind of, I think, a little bit sure about what the admissions process is like, but these are some points that we like to make when we have visitors come to Mary Washington. That we don't really have a rigid formula when we look at students. We don't look at you as a number. We don't look at you as a GPA. We don't look at you as a standardized test score. We look at you as a student and as a person. So really, when you're filling out those applications, just keep that in mind. We review each student individually, and we call it holistically. I'm sure our high school counselors have heard that word, because we look at the student entirely. A well-rounded student is who we're looking for. And we consider a number of factors. And this is a list of some of the factors that we look for, some of the important factors. And for me, I think that they fall in a very, in a good order for me, because this is what I look for. I'm going to be reading your applications here at Mary Washington. So when they come in, I want to look at your challenging program of study. I'm going to read your high school profile and see how many honors classes were available to you, how many AP classes were available to you, and if you took advantage of maybe 1, 2. Sometimes people take advantage of 8. It's really up to you, but I want to know, whether or not you're challenging yourself within the confines of your high school. So what is your high school making available to you, and what are you taking advantage of? That's what I'm going to look at first. Secondly, I'm going to look at strong academic performance within those courses. At Mary Washington, our students are coming in with a solid B plus average. So there is a middle 50% there. If you take a look at SOAR, you don't have to write this down, but it's on the back page of SOAR. Our students are coming in with between a 3.2 and a 3.8 here at Mary Wash. So it's a pretty broad range there. It's just the middle 50%. Just keep that in mind. About 25% of students are coming in with a higher GPA than that, and about 25% of our students are coming in with something lower. But really, we're looking at a student that's very well-rounded. So I'm going to be looking at your courses that you're taking as a high school student. I'm going to be looking at core foundations. We're a liberal arts and sciences school, so I touched on that a little bit earlier. But that means that I'm going to be looking for some foreign language in your transcript. At Mary Wash, we really like to see 3 years of a solid foreign language, one foreign language, second language. Actually, it's intermediacy in a second language, because American Sign Language doesn't have if anyone's speaking sign language right now. I'm going to be looking for biological science sequence. At least, I believe it's at least 2 semesters of that. I'm going to be looking for 3 years of math, 3 years of English. So don't taper off your senior year. I want to see you kind of push harder your senior year. I'm sure some of you are in your senior year right now, so just keep at it. If you're a junior, just when you're thinking about registration for this course, see what you can take. Push yourself. Don't take off. Don't just take the 3 classes. Try to take something that's really interesting to you, but that you know that you can accomplish and do well in. We did talk about standardized testing a little bit. We do take the SAT, but we also take the ACT. So if you guys are interested in taking the ACT, I really encourage you to. About 24% of our students took the ACT last year, the students that came in, and they did really well on it. We can convert the ACT score to the SAT score, so don't worry about it. We super score. So if you end up doing really well the first time that you take the SATs on the math part, but you did poorly on the reading, and then you took it a second time, you did really well on the reading the second time, but you did poorly on math that second time, we'll take the highest score from both times. And then we'll average those 2 scores. So we only average the reading portion and the math portion. Just keep that in mind. But if you want to take, these are the guys. If you want to take the ACT, you're definitely going to do that, but you're going to have to submit a standardized test score. On the scores part of this, if you're taking AP courses, we take 3, 4, and 5 for passing courses. Submit those scores too, as soon as you can. Essays. Great essay. I love to read a great essay. But I want to read something about you. I love to hear facts about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and like how awesome they were and all that stuff. But I really want to hear how awesome you are. So tell me something about you. You'll have a choice to write a topic of your choice, something that you just come up with all on your own, or you can choose from some of the topics that we give you at Mary on the Common App, exclusively Common App. So it's really up to you. But make it something your own. Tell me something about yourself. It's a confidential process. So if there's a portion of the essay or of the application that you can write something about like a special circumstance that may have happened, for some reason you didn't really do so well on a semester and it was for something that happened, whatever it is. There's a portion of the application that you can write that too. So just keep that in mind. Extracurricular activities, special talent. I'm sure everyone here has a special talent. Whether it's in school or outside of school, you can put down whatever you want as long as you're doing extracurricular activities and you have a special talent. It doesn't matter that you're doing it in school if you're really engaging yourself in the community and being active, while you're outside of school. Definitely tell me a little bit about that as well. And then letters of recommendation. I'll just point out that it does say 1 to 2. It doesn't say 12. It's not really necessary for you to submit 12, but some people do. But just be confident within yourself and make sure you choose the right person to write your letter of recommendation, okay? Usually it's a teacher, maybe it's a boss. You know, it's really up to you. You know who's going to speak well on your behalf. Okay, application filing date. Again, I'm going to be sending you home with a SOAR. It's one of our student life guides, our view book for this year. So you can take a look at these dates and try and commit them to memory, but I will give you something so you can remember them. If you're a senior this year and you are interested in being looked at competitively for merit-based scholarships, we're encouraging you to apply by November 15th. It's non-binding, but you can submit it, and if for some reason we need to hold you for test scores or things like that, we'll just roll you on to regular admission. And regular admission is February 1st. Students that apply by November 15th will have a notification letter in the mail and receive it before the end of January. And then if you're applying by the February 1st deadline, you'll hear before April 1st. So then you have that solid month to really figure out where you want to go. The national deadline is May 1st. If you're interested in applying for federal aid, whether it's student loans or grants, please be aware that there is something out there called a FAFSA. I didn't know this when I was a senior. I didn't really realize that there was this until I was actually in college. But it's a free federal application for student aid. So you can go online and fill out that information, and you could really get up to as much as all of your tuition covered. But keep in mind that you may have to be paying back some of those as subsidized or unsubsidized loans. So just remember, FAFSA is a key word, and it's due by March 1st. But for some reason, it's not on there, so that's odd. Usually it's at the end of the slide. So just remember that acronym, FAFSA. I'm going to ask our guides that came in, the lovely ladies that came in to talk about the honor system. You may have an honor code at your high school. We have an honor code here at Mary Washington. You can trust, for example, you can trust that, if you leave your laptop there and you go get a cup of coffee in the Eagle's Nest, we have a coffee shop in the library actually. But if you leave it there, it'll still be there when you come back. And if you leave it there and you leave for a week, you can go pick it up in Lost and Found. It'll be there. No one's going to take your stuff here. But you promise not to lie to your steal while you're here at Mary Washington, and all students, faculty, and staff provide that. This is my final slide. This is second to final. Tuition and fees. You're in-state, so your tuition will be about $17,274 for a liberal arts and sciences education here at Mary Washington, and that includes tuition, fees, room, and board. And then finally, this is just an example of our immaculate graduation rate. 77% of our students graduate here, and it's actually above the average for a liberal arts and sciences four-year institution. But we rank very high. We're fourth in the nation among public master's students. So thank you for listening today. I really, really do enjoy talking to prospective students because I was a prospective student at one point. So if you have a question now, I'll be happy to try and answer it. And if you feel like you'll come up with a question later and you want to ask me, I'll be downstairs when you come back from your tour. Are there any questions before you guys go out on your tour, guys and girls? No? Well, thank you so much for coming today. I will see you downstairs.